Hello, everyone. I'd like to talk about a topic which I consider important, and I believe you should consider it important because it may come in handy at some point in your life, if not now, at a later time, or you may want to help either a friend or a neighbor or a family, loved one, or even yourself if you're stuck in a situation of things which I'm going to mention of such subjects. I like to speak on subjects of corruption, abuse of power, abuse of authority, and in that nature. And I'm going to talk about certain things about within the law, criminal, state, federal. But before I continue, I want to make it very clear I don't practice law. I am not an attorney. Uh, I have not gone through the Bar Association and gotten my license to practice law. Uh, but everything that I will speak will be in accordance to the laws of this nation, United States of America, or from the country where you're living in. Uh, and you can look for them within the law books of our country, within the law books of your country. It is important to know the law. It is important to know something of law from whichever country you're living in. It's important for you to know because otherwise you could become a victim. You may be doing something now that you may not think is a crime. You may not think much of it, but it may be a crime according to our government laws. And you don't want to get yourself into a jam, into some type of trouble that you're unable to come out from. So we're going to talk about corruption. Corruption is a abuse of power and abuse of authority. There's what we call political government corruption. Where? In every country. In the United States of America, yes, there is abuse of power, abuse of authority, corruption, political corruption within the government. There's and in every country as well. We're not exempt of it. Uh, and there's corruption and abuse of power and authority in religions. Which religions? In every religion. There's some spiritual leaders or some people that are in that religion. I'm not going to mention any names. And they tend to preach one thing, but they're living somewhere else. That's hypocrisy. That's corruption. Yes, just like Pharisees. They will preach one thing, but they will live in the opposite way. Now, there's also abuse of power and corruption of abuse of authority and employment. Companies, your job, maybe you're going through something that you're being unjustly treated, and or some abuse of power and authority over a boss, or maybe the owner of the company, or the supervisor, or a team leader, someone above you, or maybe there's a special preference. Well, there are laws to protect you. I want you to know that. There are laws. You don't got to continue into the ignorance of law, not knowing, meaning not knowing the law. There's abuse of authority and power and corruption within the educational system, Board of Education. There's abuse of power and authority within law enforcement all across the United States of America, just like there is in other countries. I'm not saying every police officer is corruptive, but there are far too many officers that are corruptive in this country, United States of America, from all the ranks, from detectives to what you call as sergeants to lieutenants to chief of police. And I could just go on and mention ranks and names and badge numbers, but I will not go that far in doing so because my my point that I have come up to you today at this moment is to let you know that you can learn, you can read, you can research, you can study into the very same law books that many men and women has gone and are going to in college, universities to read and study these law books. They're at your service, at your public library, at the law library, public law library. Yes, they are at your service, and you can also order them online. Uh, I'm not going to accredit company's name where you can order them from, but if you go to Google's, you can order them, and it's much easier ordering them because you can get them faster and cheaper, whether they're used or new. Try not to get old books from 2, 3 years ago, 4, 5, 10 years ago. That cannot help you. Someday you go to court and then you state such law, Your Honor, through the Connecticut General Statutes. You're going to look like a fool in front of the judge, and he's going to tell you that law is not in effect, or hasn't been in effect, or has been squashed, or it's not, it's has been put to sleep, hasn't been used, or it's not going to be used, then you're going to look like a fool. Get new books. We're in 2022. Get books like, if you're going to get the backbone of the state of Connecticut, get the Connecticut General Statutes books. It's they got the Connecticut General Statutes. They got the annotated Connecticut General Statutes. What is the difference between the Connecticut General Statutes and the annotated books of Connecticut General Statutes? Well, the annotated ones is more specific, much more clearer, better understanding. But the normal, regular kinds, they can be very, very helpful as well. And they're much easier and faster to find at your public library or at the law library. You'll find both the annotated Connecticut General Statutes and the regular ones, the Connecticut General Statutes. Now these books, Connecticut General Statutes, each state has them. California General Statutes, Florida General Statutes, Texas General Statutes. Each state has them, as well as the New England Rules of Court. They got also California Rules of Court, New York Rules of Court. They got them. They go hand in hand with each other. Connecticut General Statutes, as well as New England Rules of Court, the discipline of judges and attorneys that they should have, and prosecutors, and more when they're in court. What other books are important for you to obtain and own? Books on parole, sentencing, and probation, and things in that nature, in that area. You may say, oh, but I'm a law-abiding citizen. You may be a law-abiding citizen right now, but like I said, one of the corruptions that I mentioned that is rising more than ever is law enforcement. There have been, if not hundreds, thousands of men and women from all backgrounds of life, as well as religion, and that have been arrested being innocent. This is why they have, if you don't know something, a program called the Innocent Project Program, which is two attorneys. They open up this program and they run it themselves. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's nonprofit. And there are many men as well as women that they work on their case if they're innocent and find out. And many have come out of prison through the Innocent Project Program, which I congratulate them and I thank them for doing a wonderful job throughout many years and more to come. But it is important for you to know how much of law you think you should know. How much of criminal law, state law, federal law, or domestic violence, or divorce, or anything that you may be facing in the future, or don't wait to face them. Read them now, study them now, research on these books now. So that way if you're getting your money's worth, if when you get an attorney, if he's doing his job how he should do in the most just and ethic way, and if he's not, You can always report him to the bar associations, which is where they establish their law practice licenses, and they could be suspended. They could be revoked their license. They could face penalties. Don't you think your hands, your wrists are tied up, and there's nothing you can do? There's something you can do. There's a lot you can do. There's corruption everywhere. This is as far as uh, when corruption will stop. Corruption will never stop. Abuse of power will never stop. Abuse of authority will never stop. It will cease. It will slow down. If you don't speak up, then it'll rise, and you could be the next victim, or a brother, or a sister, or a friend, or a neighbor. You may not care right now. Like I have met many people that they have not cared about, these things, but until they have seen themselves into a situation with law enforcement, and they had claimed to be innocent, that's when they had actually cared about these things. And this is important. It's important, my dear brother, my dear sister, my dear friend, to be informed. I thank the Lord that He has allowed me to study, to research into law books, and I continue. I don't stop. I keep learning and researching, and law dictionaries are extremely important. They speak in a language that only they understand. But when you buy yourself and obtain a law dictionary, when attorneys speak to each other, or the judges they speak to attorneys, or vice versa to prosecution, you will understand. And when you hear them talking in section, because in Connecticut general statutes, such section of dash this number, or they throw numbers and letters because they have them in these books. They may not say what it says in those areas, from those numbers or letters that they throw, section 44 dash whatever the case is. You will know what it's that they talking about, because you read these books, you study these books, you research them. Like if you're about to take the bar exam to get licensed and become an attorney, so you're like, oh, okay, yes, all right. Or if if you have to put your attorney into his place, no, I don't agree with this, excuse me. And you have that talk with him, and let him know what that section of law means, according to the Connecticut General Statute, the New England Rules of Court, or what he meant with such probationary or parole or sentencing book, because that's how they speak, by numbers. Kind of like when you go to church, there are times that, preachers, they say, because John 3:16, and then you're like wondering, John 3:16, what is he talking about? Why? Because you're not reading the Bible. You read the Bible is important as well. Because now I'm going to the church. There's corruption in churches, in many churches. A lot of churches. There's small, big, medium, all kinds of color, and all kinds of corruption in colors and numbers. They come in alphabets, and there are many people that are actually portraying to be something that they're not, and living a hypocrisy like this. Is why many people don't want to come to the church, right? But it's important for you to read the Bible, for you to study the Bible, for you to research on it. Otherwise, how in the world are you going to know if that preacher or that spiritual leader is speaking in accordance to the book of that you consider holy, like the Word of God? If you're not reading it, if you're not studying it, if you're not researching on it, they got also the Bible Concordance on the back of the Bibles. Most of the Bibles, they have a concordance, which is a small limited dictionary of words that as you read, if you don't understand a word, you look on the back of the Bible where it says concordance, which is like the dictionary of the Bible. You will find a limited words. And if you don't find words that maybe you think it should be there in the concordance, you can go to the nearest bookstore and buy yourself a Bible dictionary. religion dictionary, so you could understand what this word or the other that the preacher or the spiritual leader said while he was preaching or bringing in the sermon, such on, or the things that actually supposed to be in a just manner, in a moral way. How the Church of God or the body of Christ supposed to be acting up or being disciplined into. Take an interest into these things, and so that way you don't fall a victim of abuse of authority and power. We're talking about now about jobs. There are many jobs in many companies where bosses, supervisors, team leaders, those above you, or owner or CEO a company, they feel they can talk to you in a disgusting, vulgar manner, or trashy, or however you want to consider it. And there are many abuse on these jobs, and because you are in the ignorance of not knowing your employment rights, because they have laws into employment rights, not only unemployment that can help you, or the wages and forms department if it has to do with your paycheck, or an employment agent or anything like that, or the union from your company, but also take an interest into the laws of your rights in that employment. Read the bylaws of that company. Ask for a handbook. Also, get to know your rights as well as through the booklet or handbook of the union. If there's a union in your company, and even there's no union in your company, the bylaws of the company can help you, as well as unemployment government agents that can help you, as well as the law library, public law library has also books into your rights as an employee, so they won't be violated. I know, because I got all these books that I just mentioned to you before, and the ones that I'm mentioning now, including domestic violence. If you're a man that you're trying to fight your son or your daughter's custody, well, guess what? There are so many laws that nowadays it can help you. There's specifically, there are books like, I'm going to go on in a limb, and I'm going to mention one that could be very helpful. It's called Father's Rights. There's a book called Father's Rights. I can't remember who wrote it, but when you look into it, and in the best interest, it says is for the father to be into his child's life. There are many women out there that once a relationship breaks up, they want to get child support, they want to get alimony, but they're abused that they have full sole custody, and they keep asking more and more money, and they see their child like if it's a piece of material thing, or a piece of money or a check, but don't take good care of their child. I'm not saying every woman. There's so many women out there, but not every woman, but there are many good fathers out there that wish that they can see their son, see their daughter, have some time with them, or have joint custody or full sole custody, and they think they're not going to win because they're a man. Well, let me let you into a surprise. I was a single parent, father, for a very long time. I'm still single, but talking about having custody, I had custody of my daughter. I have one biological daughter, and I had custody of her. I fought her custody when she was like shortly after the breakup of her mom and I. And my daughter was like about a year and a half. And I'm not going to mention the reasons why. It's much personal. Nowadays, they have a wonderful relationship, and I thank God for that. Now, but I did fight custody of my biological daughter, and I tell you, it was a battle. It was hellacious. It was not easy. It was hard, but I maintained strong with God's strength. And on top of that, me reading all sorts of things that has to do with fighting other custody for me to obtain custody of my daughter. And at first, I was fighting custody of my daughter by myself. And my daughter's mother, she had private lawyers. And then later on, it was suggested to me by the first judge that was taking care of the case, an unjustly manner, unethical, unprofessional, which later on, thank God, he was changed. It was a different judge. But he suggested to me in a very rude and disrespectful manner that I should get an attorney. And I did. I had a public defender, and it did a better job, the public defender. So for those of you that has mixed feelings about public defenders, and I can understand why, but there are some good public defenders out there. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it in a second. Now, with this public defender, Carolyn Richter, nowadays I suppose she may be retired for years already, but she did a wonderful job. She was the first and only attorney as a public defender that fought the case against two private lawyers, and she won the case, you know. And I thank God for that. I was able to raise my daughter, and she's a wonderful daughter. And yes, I did not put any hatred in my daughter's heart. She still loves her mom, and they have a wonderful relationship, and I thank God for that too. And no, we're not enemies. We're not the best of friends or anything like that, but we're not enemies either. We're parents. That's what we are. Now, talking about public defenders, a lot of people, they have the stigma, the public defenders, they're all trashy, they're no good, good for nothing. But that's not always true. The problem with public defenders is they are thrown too many cases on them. They're working with like God knows how many cases a day. So they don't really have the length of time that a private lawyer will have, a paid lawyer by you, that he will actually be able to take that extra time or ask the judge for extra time and be able to work on your case and take his time. Now, but on the positive side to public defenders, their offices are within the courthouses. Unlike the private lawyers, listen carefully, their offices are outside the courthouses. Now, the public defenders, here I am talking about the public defenders, being that their offices are inside the courthouses, well, guess what? They get to see these judges all day, every day. I'm talking about 5 days a week. For whatever amount of hours that the courthouse is open, they get to see all